Welcome back to Permission Slip Granted. This month we've been exploring the theme, What Feeds You? And today we're flipping the script because sometimes what feeds you isn't about what you get, it's about what you give. So let's talk about how giving back might just be the most powerful way to move you forward.
Welcome back to another episode of Permission Slip Granted. This month we have been talking about what feeds your fire, what moves you forward, what really gets you going. So we're going to take a little bit of a different track for our last episode this month, where we are talking about giving back, talking about service. And we do chat a little bit before the conversation, before we hit record, just so that we have a roadmap, an idea of where we're going. And something that I brought to this topic is that it's been a bit of a struggle for me. It was such a mandatory part of my life growing up within the Mormon organization. Service is just, you are constantly expected to give to others above yourself. Like you're constantly, right? It's part of that belief that you cannot be a selfish person. Everybody else comes first. And so in some ways, I have really stepped away and rebelled against that, right? And I'm not going out and doing a lot of community service, but service also has just kind of shaped my life. And so it's present in the career choices that I've made, right? I'm a massage therapist and a life coach. It's present in how I show up for my friends, the people in my life. So it's definitely a topic that we can unpack together today. And I would love to hear, where each of you are at in regards to giving back to others. So let's get to it, shall we?
Yeah, thank you for opening us up, Kylie. I think I just want to jump in right now and rip off this band-aid of this idea that it has to be a grand gesture. Giving back does not have to be this monumental grand gesture of, hey, I'm going to go and help relief. Or I think, Cindy, you mentioned planting trees. It's literally whatever fills you up with joy to have enough capacity to even give, to contribute to your community, to your society, to whatever it is that feeds you that joy, and that's what comes to mind for me. It's I can kind of relate to you a little bit, Kylie, in the fact of, we had this growing up in our church. It was we were always trying to do these community service things together as groups. And when I grew up and I was not part of the church, I left the church for other reasons than you, but I was now at this place where I'm how do I give back? Because a part of me enjoyed that, but I think it was the connection in the community around me that we were creating something. But then now that as I'm an adult and I have children, it's how do you instill that into individuals at a more of a intrinsic level?
Yes.
Right. And I used to be oh, I want to go and help. I remember when Katrina happened and I wanted to go, but I couldn't go and help because my job. But then I was what else could I do? And then those were those ideas that started triggering, what can I do locally? And so I just wanted to remind us all that it can be just donating food to the food bank. It could be, walking some elderly person's dog. It doesn't have to be this giant movement that you're part of to give back.
Yeah, I love that that you added that, and I'm gonna go ahead and rip off the band-aid of religion. Okay. Religion is, I'm not downing anybody who is a part of a religious organization and is involved in giving back, but I think it's very wise of yourself to be careful and ask yourself questions about being forced to participate in religious services, just so that you can say, I did it, okay? And I am now accepted into this religious organization. That's not God fearing. That's not, God knows your soul. He knows your heart. And if you are not in it, then don't do it. Right. But, and also, I'm going to talk about maybe tithing. A lot of Christians or religious organizations donate or not forced, but are told to donate 10% of each paycheck. Well, that could also doesn't have to be monetarily. That could be, you don't have to give it to the church. You could do 10% to your own charity, 10% to something else, whatever, like adding on to what Kristen said, whatever fills you, gives you joy, whatever you feel that you, in your body, in your mind, and in your soul, you feel discerned. You have discernment, your own personal journey, your own personal path. I'm speaking to that right now. Because anyone who tells you you have to do this, or this is a service that we're going to be a part of, and makes you feel either passive aggressively or verbally, that's wrong.
I think that I want to add a layer there because I think that that takes away from the joy that you're supposed to feel when you're giving, right? Like when it comes from a place of this is who I am, this is what fills me up. There's so much elation and joy that comes with the service of it all, of putting it together and going and actively doing it. But when you're feeling pressured, that to me is just on all levels, just unequivocally wrong.
Manipulation, is that what yeah.
I don't know, like bullying comes to mind too. Like I'm gonna single you out if you're not part of, like, I don't know, like we also carry our own guilt. So maybe you'll have your own reflection of like, oh, if I don't do it, you have that layer of guilt that's on your shoulders. But the question is, can you even do it? Or do you even want to do it? And if either of those questions are no, or were there the answer is yes, good for you, do you, right? Like we're all about doing you and what feeds you. And I like that we're kind of, it's funny because we initially were like, we're talking about this topic. And I know our girl Hillary, she's not here because, she's still on the mend, but she initially brought this to us. So as we were talking, we were like, how are we going to unpack this? But now that we're getting into it, I'm like, okay. It makes sense,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like one more thing. I know that Kristen has preached this before. The measure that you pour out in some capacity, in this attention, you said the measure that you pour out to people sometimes won't come back to you in the way that you want it to, but it will come back to you, and it will come back to you tenfold. But doing it with 100% your heart into it, it may not come back to you in directly in the way that you want it to, but it will come back to you with a pure heart, with pure intentions. I truly believe that. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah.
No, I do, because I pour it out all the time.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So one of the other questions that kind of came up for me. So how do one thing that I'm struggling with as a parent is I want to help my boys have hearts for service, right? Have hearts for other people, not be completely self-absorbed individuals. What does that look like though, without that structure that I grew up with,
I'm going to stop you for just a second because I was like, oh yes, I love this question. I love all tips parenting. I really do. We are mirrors, right? Like our children are mirrors of us. And I really wholeheartedly believe knowing you and the things that you've expressed to us, that is not a concern that I think you even have an ounce of worry to worry about because of who you are and how much you give of yourself. And one of the things that I personally was in that space too, like I want them to, because for me, it's more like I'm in an affluent community. A lot of the kids around us have things. There's lots of brands around us and lots of money around us. And I'm more concerned about this entitlement ego that's happening. And what can we do to contribute back to the community at a level that is impactful enough for my kids to get it? And one of the things, and I'm not saying that this is what you have to do, but I think that it might spark something here for creativity in your neighborhood or community to just get the kids, like ask them what they would want to do. And what we do with my kids, and it's Lexi's favorite thing to do, and She loves to go, I will go to Walmart and I tell her, fill up the basket with, and I give her a list of items. Like she gets the list, like she co-creates this list with me. And we, every Christmas, we donate to our local homeless shelter where they do stockings for homeless families. And so we're buying all those hygiene items. We're buying toys. We're buying, like, she's like, looks at me, it's like, more. And I was like, more, you still have room in your budget, right? And I make her do the math sometimes, as she's getting older, she's contributing in different ways. And she comes to me now and says, it's after Thanksgiving. Are we going to go to Walmart? And are we going to fill the shopping cart up? And like, I cannot tell you the joy that I saw on my child's face when we dropped the stocking stuff off. We, in my community, we have some families get their kids together, create the stockings, to then fill the stockings, to then drop them off. So it's like, we've kind of created this domino effect in our area because that's what my kid wanted to do. I was like, yes, baby. Yes. When she found out there was homeless kids and that they didn't, or there's foster kids, that's another thing that she loves. She's like, people don't have homes. People don't get Christmas. People don't have mommies and dad. Like, yes, honey, I want you to understand that that is the reality of the world. And like, as she gets older, we'll do more, and I think the important part as a parent or anybody who's listening and want to instill in our kids, it has to start with you. It has to start with your energy that you're carrying, because if I'm not complimenting people, my kids aren't complimenting people. If I'm not using please and thank yous, my kids aren't using please and thank yous. If I'm not coming at a place of servitude, my kids are not going to have servitude skills, because they're emulating the skills that we teach them through behaviors that they see. That is the best teaching, right? So I don't have to worry about it.
I wouldn't say that I'm like full on having anxiety about it, but it's definitely something that's been on my brain because, I just left the Mormon organization in 2020. So it's still relatively fresh. I know that some people might listen to that and go, it's been 5 years. Like, but when you think about it from the perspective of, yes, and that means that I spent 35 years within it during formative years when so many narratives and habits were formed. 5 years is nothing being out of it, right? So that is really great. That's a really great tip to bring it back to self as a parent. One other thing that I've been doing is I have an app that the boys use for allowance, and like I don't pay them to do contributions in the house. That's a whole other conversation we can have another day. But I do give them an allowance twice a month, and we set it up after talking with them. We set it up so that it would take the money that's given and they'd get X amount to spend, X amount in savings, and X amount in giving, and X amount in investing, so that they're understanding from a young age these are all important ways to use your money, because those were not things that I was taught. So, if it is, I just want to kind of bring it up that yes, absolutely, go out and do things in your community. And sometimes if you're not physically able to do that for whatever reason, there are monetary ways, and it doesn't matter if you can't write a $10 million check.
Right.
For a lot of these organizations, small amounts on a regular monthly basis is just as important as that one-time huge donation. So I think that's an important piece to bring up.
I love that you brought that up. $5. I work for I don't work for, I help a dog rescue. And she's like, just send me your coffee money. And it helps, if everybody's sending $1 every day, that's for all the people that follow her, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right. And they also, in times, there's a lot of people in this world that don't have money. And that I don't want to send the message across, and I'm not downplaying what y'all just said, but I also don't want to send the message across that you need money to give back. Really, a smile at a grocery store, at sharing your smile, your good energy with a cashier who might not be having a good day, that could mean the world to someone. And I know that sounds silly, but kindness is not everybody comes across it every day. So pouring out your good energy, a smile, saying, hi, how are you? Being present with somebody for 5 minutes is
Yeah.
giving back. You're making the world a better place. You're putting out good energy into this world for somebody to have that good energy. And then at least it's a domino effect, right? So become, start a domino effect. Be that first domino to push over that kindness. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that you brought that layer. I just had an experience at the grocery store not too long ago. I think I posted it on one of my Instagram stories. I was in line, I was checking out, I had a full cart. There was a family with a little girl behind me, and I let the family go ahead of me. They had like three things. And the little girl was just like, really? Like her face, her facial expression was like, that's happening. And then I looked at her and I was like, just make sure that you remember to give this kindness back to somebody. And she just had this big grin on her face, and like she was like, okay. And then her parents were like, the energy, just the whole energy in that moment shifted. And then I was not expecting anything in return, but the cashier ended up handing me a $20 bill at that moment. And he's like, he left this for you. That family left this for you. And like, I couldn't run after him because I had my whole grocery cart, because I was like, no, absolutely not. But you know what that started talking about dominoes? Guess what I did with that $20 bill?
The
I
next
I went back and I blessed another family, because it was just like, oh my gosh, I was seen in that moment, and it made me feel so good because I'm the one that's giving that kindness. And my mom even said the other day, it's just a dying art, just being considerate and kind, because we're also focused on where we're going and where we're rushing to and where we need to be, that you don't spend time enough in the present to make connection with people.
Hmm.
Yeah, say hi. I love that you added that layer. That is such a amazing thing that fuels me. So that definitely feeds my soul. And I love even more when kids get to see that, and then you can see that energy shift on the kid. It's like they're going to remember that. They are going to remember that somebody saw me today.
Right. Well, there hopefully, and I'm just trying to be realistic, but there will be seasons in everyone's life where they have money, where they don't have money, where they have good energy, where they don't have good energy, and like we're here as human beings, to lean on each other and help each other and walk with each other. Because ultimately, when we're being kind to each other, when we're holding space for each other, we're all walking each other home. So, it's the best gift and the best of service to stay present and just to like be aware of who's around you. And and just try to be the best when you wake up in the morning, try to be the best human being you could possibly be that day. And that doesn't mean, oh, let's strive for all the accolades and accomplishments. No, just be human, and you are enough
Hmm.
always.
Yeah. I'm smiling right now because like just feeling you say that like through the screen. I know we're not in the same room, but you truly mean what you just said.
Oh, yeah.
Like I can see that pouring out of you right now. You're like, just do good.
Sorry, I can be quite passionate sometimes, but I've at times when I haven't felt enough, and I've been broke, and I've like been in the grocery store line, and I just had like a good moment, and I had good energy, and the cashier just said, he reminded me of who I was, and he said, you know what, you seem like you're always a person who has a smile on your face, and he was like, you should continue doing that. And I was like, and I just my soul just like it made me feel so good, and I was like, it made me feel seen in that moment. And I was like a complete stranger, and I was like, you know what, and it motivated me, it refueled me a little bit. So I was just like, you know what, he's right. You know, it's just
Yeah.
like the tiniest of smiles, the ladies that are standing in the self checkout, making sure, checking IDs and, helping with troubleshooting, like say hello to them, say, and look at them in the eye and say, hey, goodbye. Maybe people don't get that address of every day, but like, oh, I'm in the room, and addressing and saying somebody acknowledging someone's presence can mean the world to somebody.
Yeah. And it doesn't take that much to give that. You know, it's a moment in your day to brighten somebody else's whole day. So I love that layer. Thank you for adding that. That really reminded me so much. Like,
Yeah, no problem. Sorry,
you're
I'm trying to.
Stop apologizing.
I do need to stop apologizing. This is a terrible habit, women. Thank you for reminding me, Kylie. We all make each other better, but I've been in this season of, humbling myself and realizing that it's just the small acts that really, or at least to me, the smallest acts make the biggest difference. And hopefully one day, not hopefully one day, but if I ever do become a millionaire or have lots of money,
when I become a millionaire.
when I do, I'll remember this, I'll remember this, and maybe I'll be able to bless someone financially, but
I have to jump in here for just a second because my husband and I, we're all dreamers and it's amazing to have dreams and stuff. But there was a moment where we were playing the lottery and we kept saying that if we won, we wouldn't say anything to anybody. We wouldn't tell anybody, but there would be signs. And those signs are opening up an orphanage or, like there's all these things that like we want to do in a way of giving back, but not change our lifestyle. Like I don't want to change who I am because of money, because you see it so often. Money is the root of all evil. There's a reason for that phrase, right? And
Right.
It can be so ugly. And I've been on the ugly side of money, but I've also been on the beautiful side of money. I've been in a blessed position where I was able to help a family who was going through a divorce. The children were able to get out because I was able to pay for their legal fees, So it's like, that has been an amazing gift that I've been able to give back in those ways. But I've also seen where, I've been ghosted because now they think I want the money back. When I'm like, no, that was you. And it's like, okay, now I don't have a relationship because their own pride got in the way.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, there's so many layers here. And I think the takeaway for me and the reason why I continue to be this giving person is because that is who I am at my root core. I just want everybody to recognize that they are seen when I'm in the room. Like I want to make eye contact. I want to hear your story. I want to see your pain because connection, it all comes back to connection for me. And if I can make one person feel that they are worthy enough to be present and be here, that they see value in their life when they're hurting their deepest moments or their deepest chapters, if one light can shine onto that, it can be that catalyst to that flame that they need to get started in their life again, And so like, I want to be that person. And not because I feel I need to have reciprocation back, but because I just genuinely love humanity. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're building a legacy.
I never thought of it that way. All right. I'm building a legacy. What is it? No.
A legacy of kindness.
Oh my God. Now you're bringing me back to Hamilton. We don't need a legacy. Or no, wait. We don't need money. That's what she sings. Anyways, there's a lot of talk about legacy in that show.
Yeah, I really love the book. I don't know if you guys, either one of you have read it, but The Alchemist. He talks about finding your personal legend. And now that you said that, I'm like, maybe that is my legacy. That is what I'm trying to leave behind. And it's, I'm trying to be that example to others, especially to my children, because it just fills me up so much. Yeah.
It's interesting. I haven't done much talking this episode, which is fine. Anybody who's listening, it can be a little less Kylie from time to time. I'm okay with that. But I've really been contemplating, because if you had asked me before we started recording this conversation, I would have said that I don't really have a lot of service in my life. But as Sydney is talking about the way we put out there, right? I know this is probably an autistic hang up in my brain where it was like service looks like, and it had a very specific set of definitions and rules for it. But when we look at one of I have two main values in my life: authenticity and making a difference. Making a difference is fucking service. Like, it's giving back, right? Like, so I'm just laughing here going like, if you'd asked me before the episode, I've been like, oh no, I don't do much with service. And I'm like, it's one of my core values. So, but in looking at the way I've chosen to move through life, like I said, career, right? Like both of my careers are service based, are helping others, right? There are lots of ways that I am teaching that to my boys. So definitely coming out of this conversation with a different mindset about it all.
I love that. I love that we can do that for you and that we can see that in action. Thank
Yeah.
you for sharing that. That was beautiful.
Yeah. Well, when we were right before we started to hit the record button, and you just said, "No, we need to start recording," because you're like, "I don't do much service," and I was thinking, but you use your hands every day, like you, and then you hold space for people and your clients, and then you're also like, you're raising your two boys, and you're, always seeking behind the scenes. We're always talking about parenting, that, and I think that's something really good mothers do, is they lean on each other. And so I see on the daily three things that you do daily that are service minded, right? And that comes out of love. So there's a lot of love. If there's a lot of love present in your life, there's a lot of service, most likely.
Mm,
I,
good
I,
point.
I just want to add to like who you are and the reasons why you do things. That to me is a forefront of service, right? You're not doing it to be seen, recognized, or have something given back to you. You're doing it because it's genuinely a part of you.
Yeah.
That is one of your values, right? So like that to me is what service is all about. It is about giving parts of you without any expectations back.
Hmm. Yeah.
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 Where these conversations go.
I know. So my takeaway then would be, if you struggle like I do with defining service as only either grand gestures or organized charities, or, having some sort of rigid structure to it, maybe sit with that and reflect on what can change about that definition to include probably the many ways in which you are offering service to those around you without even being aware of it.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I want to go a little step further, and I want to say that this is your permission slip this week to find one small way to give back to your community,
Yes.
your family, a stranger, or even a part of yourself that's been quietly waiting to be seen. So, and notice how it feels and notice what it brings up, because giving isn't just about pouring it out. It's about feeling up too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love how you said that, Kylie. It's like, for those, I'm going to be more aware of it next time. Never trying to not ever put service into a box,
Yeah.
because I feel like if I have to put service into a box, is it really service?
Mm.
Really? You know?
And
Or that kind of shows I need to question, maybe, is where does this intention or motivation to do this service coming from if I'm putting it in a box?
Yeah.
I think we opened up about what it is that feeds us and what about that act of service is feeding you. And I think that that's the question that you hold on to. What is feeding me in this moment of giving back?
Mm.
Is this something that's filling me up, or is this something that I'm doing out of guilt or shame? And is it going to drain me?
Mm.
Because remember, it should fill you up. When you're giving service, that needs to, that act should be filling your soul, and it should be feeding that part of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, ladies. I love
Yeah.
your insight and your inputs, and I love where these conversations always go. They always surprise us. We're always learning. We hope our listeners and our viewers are as well. Is there anything that we wanted to add before we close out this episode?
Don't forget to follow all of us.
Yes, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to the YouTube channel, or I believe the correct term on Spotify is follow our show there. You can check out our online community that we are building. You can find those details at our website, www.permissionslipgranted, all one word, .com. What else?
Yeah, and I just want to remind everybody that this is about you guys. This is about our listeners and our viewers, and we really wanted to create a space that you can come and bring your topics to us. We can unpack them, we can dissect them, we can invite you on the show, and you can go through it with us. So we're really wanting to just create a place of connection to be seen and heard and just valued. So,
Yeah.
So yeah, other than that, thank you ladies so much. Until next time.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Permission Slip Granted. We hope this conversation reminded you that giving, when it comes from the heart, doesn't drain you. It expands you. Whether you're offering your time, energy, your presence, your impact matters. We're not just your hosts. We're life coaches here to support your growth. So if you're feeling called to pour into others but need help filling up your own cup first, check the show notes to connect with us. Until next time, keep giving yourself permission to show up, give back, and grow forward.